back to the thing you're saying about Asian women. When I think about it, like, all right, so my girl's Armenian, so she grew up in this community where societally the way that they relate to each other is a little bit different. And very early on, I started to realize, oh, she loves to clean up after me. She loves to cook for me. She loves to take care of me. And the first time that I ever brought her around my mom, and my girl went up to go get me a plate of food when the food got served or whatever, I didn't even have to get up. I didn't think about it. She just brings me over a plate of food. And my mom says to her, like, why are you doing that for him? Make him get up and get his own plate of food.
Oh, yeah, so wrong.
And I'm just thinking, look at what feminism has done to our society, that my mom thinks that she's doing something wrong by loyally serving her, what would go on to be her fiance. And I understand where my mom's coming from, because she probably grew up in more of like a sexist environment where she thinks that that's wrong. My girl, she likes that. That makes her feel good to be able to,
Right.
do things for me.
Right. My mom did the same thing to my Japanese when I was married. And I had to tell my mom, I said, Mom, this is why I went to Japan to get me a wife.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah, don't ruin it. I said, that's why I ain't married no black woman. You know what I'm saying? I told my mom got so mad when I said that, but I'm just keeping it real. Like, come on. Like, I asked my wife for a glass of water, and she was pregnant at the time, and she ran to the kitchen to get it and came back. And my mom's like, why you got this girl running to the kitchen? I said, I didn't ask her to run. I just asked her for a water, but that's how they do it. That's just, I don't know why they do it like that, but they hurry up and get you shit. When you ask her, I asked her really nice, hey, babe, can you get me a glass of water? And she just jogged to the kitchen.
Right.
I don't know why she did that.
Yeah.
And my mom was mad. And then from that second on, my mom was in her head. And by the time my mom left, my ex-wife was already acting like a black girl doing all this. I was like, fuck.
All right, but so I gotta hit you with this now. Is that is the stereotype about successful black men, is that they reach a certain degree of success and then they go find a white woman or Asian woman or whatever, and they don't want to create a family with black women. And then there's a lot of people in the culture now who look at that and they're all about just encouraging black people to date each other and stick together and not date outside of their race, because they think that you need to create strong black families. You think, like, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that black people, most black men, we are if we're gonna date or marry outside your race, you already was interested in women outside your race. It's not that now I got successful, now I gotta go get me a white girl. They probably was already dating white girls and Asian girls and Mexican girls before they got super successful. And do any guy really, really want to get married? I think what it is, you find a good girl and that you love and you really love, and then she's the one who, like, most of the times, like, pressures you into getting married. Like, it's some guys that are looking for marriage and want to start a family and stuff like that. But I think that it's a negative thing that it's a negative narrative that black women say, oh, once he got successful, he went and found him a white girl and stuff like that. Most likely that guy was already dating outside his race. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of my family members never dated outside their race, and so they ask me questions and stuff like that. And I think if they got super successful and they got rich, or if they played ball or they became very successful as an athlete, they would still marry a black woman because they haven't been around or had access or been attracted to women outside of their race.
It's weird because if I were to put myself in the shoes of that conversation, it seems like unbelievably racist and fucked up, because I would have dated a black woman without a second thought instead of my girl. Like, if my girl happened to be black and I met her, I would never have even thought about it. It would never have occurred to me that, like, I should be concerned about the race of the person I'm dating. And I do not give, like, if I meet a white woman tomorrow, say I was single, I don't give her any points for being white.
Exactly.
Maybe I would assume that there's some degree of shared experiences or like shit that we've been through. Maybe if not even from being white, but like say we grew up in a similar place or whatever, I could think, okay, you're white, so maybe we have a little bit more in common. But I'm not like in favor of that. Like that would never occur to me.
Right. My thing is your person or your soulmate or the person you fall in love with might not be your race.
Right.
And I think America should just come up off all that race shit. It's 2023. It's too late in the game. Like, we are Americans. We all mixed up. So come off the race shit.
Well, sometimes it feels like the old goal was for race to not matter, and now the goal is for it to matter so much that you almost can't have a conversation without bringing it into the conversation, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are scared to be called a racist these days. And that's going on in England as well, because I got a lot of friends over there, my boxing coaches is British, and telling me same thing. It's like they putting us against each other, and you got to be careful what you say. You might sound racist. Like I'm just sick of it, to be honest. Yeah, because I feel like if you're not racist, you should be able to say whatever the fuck you want, joke about whatever you want. That's what we all did, a couple of years ago. Now the word's sensitive.
Because you're sitting next to Cowboy when we did that fight companion.
Yeah.
And he, I'm not going to say he's like a full-on racist or anything, but he definitely says a lot of shit that comes across as a little spicy in this day and age. He had one quote when we were on that thing where he goes, listen, I like all different types of ice cream, but I always end up with vanilla. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, if I was a more easily offended person, I could easily take that sentence to mean that he's fucking racist. But I understand what he was saying. He's saying that he would fuck a woman of any race realistically, but he usually ends up dating white women. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But then when I'm reading about Cowboy and stuff, he's got a lot of shit for saying some edgy racist stuff over the years. But would you consider him like your real friend, or do you feel like there's a real gap between you over the race thing?
I'm gonna tell you, I don't see Cowboy as being racist. Okay, let me try to explain this the best way. Same thing about Donald Trump. People think Donald Trump racist. Okay, let me try to explain this the best way I can. Give me a second. So, just because somebody say some fucked up shit about another race, don't really mean they're racist. You know what I'm saying? Like say, because I've heard my dad. I've heard my dad call white people cracker before when I was a kid, and we didn't grow up with that racist stuff because we're mixed. Like my grandparents and stuff is mixed, so we was taught a little bit different. And
I don't assume that he's a racist because he's called people cracker before.
Right. So
like, who the fuck cares? It's just a word.
Right. He a lot of people don't know what word cracker mean though, but some white person cut him off and threw a finger sign. He said, "Fuck you, cracker," blah blah blah. And I got on my desk. I said, "Why you calling that man? Why you calling that man a cracker?" He blah blah blah. You know blah 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 blah. And he told me, son. He was like, "Son, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you get mad and you just say stuff." He said, "That don't mean that I hate all white people, but I'm mad at that white guy right there."
Right.
I said, "Well, then don't call him a cracker. Just call him dude." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right."
But if you get in an argument with a fat guy, you're gonna call him a fat fuck.
Damn right.
And you don't hate fat people.
I don't hate fat people at all.
it's just you're fat. I'm trying to hurt your feelings a little bit here.
Right. So I believe that's what a lot of people. That's why a lot of people are. I think that maybe Cowboy probably would say some stuff, but is Cowboy racist? No, because of the interactions that I have with him, stuff like that. I'm from the South. I know racist people. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't put Cowboy in the racist category like Donald Trump. I wouldn't put him in the racist category. I don't think Donald Trump is racist. A lot of people trying to paint him as a racist, and so I started looking at him, and I started paying attention to what he was doing. I'm like, no, I don't think Donald Trump is
I'm
racist.
not a Donald Trump fan, but I think that the evidence for Donald Trump being like a white supremacist is pretty bad. You know, they always point to this one thing you said about, the Mexicans, they're bringing rapists and murderers or whatever. It's like, I feel like it's pretty obvious that they're trying to make that sentence seem more offensive than it was.
Right.
Because he's not a great public speaker. Right? I guess maybe he's a great public speaker, but he doesn't like speak in a scientific manner.
Right.
I think it was pretty obvious he was trying to say like,
he's not a politician.
Yeah.
So he don't have that media training like a lot of politicians do. And when they was trying to say when he called it the Chinese virus, like he was correct. People called viruses where they come from, but like I was just saying, like I think it's a fine line that people need to understand. Like just because somebody says something about a certain race, don't really mean that they're racist. But they could be racist. They could, but it's also they probably just it's just the way they brought up. They probably don't think about it. They probably don't hate all black people, but if a black person do something wrong in front of them, they probably going to say some fucked up shit. And a lot of people are guilty of it. Me, I don't use like word cracker and hunky. I don't. But if somebody is a cracker, I have to tell them. But a cracker is a racist white person. A cracker is back in the slavery day was the one who used to whip the slaves. Used to crack the whip. So that's what a cracker is. A cracker is not a saltine cracker. Nothing like it. Got nothing to do with no saltine. Nothing like that. A cracker is a racist white person that used to whip the slaves.
But okay, if me and you became really good friends and we talked on the phone a couple times a week and we hung out and shit like that, at some point, if you started like calling me a cracker, just fucking around as a joke, whatever, I would not care at all. But there's nothing that would ever make me call you the N-word, no matter how much of a joke it was, no matter how much we joked around about race. that's just a big, big line in the sand that I'm never gonna cross.
Yo, we just hit 400,000 subscribers right here on the Clips channel. So if you want to help us out, click subscribe, get us to 500K. Yeah.